Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Voxcaster. I'm your host, Dan, and on today's episode, Brian and myself welcome a fellow Maritimer, all the way from Truro, Nova Scotia. He's known for his work on Basement Wargaming. We have with us Tyler Fields. How we doing?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Well, thanks for taking a little bit of time jumping on with us and having a good old chat.
Yeah, very excited. First time doing like a show like this for 40K, so very
Nice.
eager to have some discussion with fellow wargamers here.
It's always fun to
Always.
talk 40K. So
And, and see, the problem with that is it's knowing when to stop because usually it never happens. And then I'm just like, we're about 2 hours in. Maybe we should wrap it up. Then we continue on with the outro. And then, oh, by the way, we forgot this. And oh, yeah, that's how it works, right?
yeah,
Yeah, oh, exactly.
No, but pretty much on this episode, and like I said, like previous episodes we've had people on, is just one of those we sit, we chat, we talk about how you got into the hobby, some of the stuff you've done. We'll talk a little bit on your YouTube channel. And hey, at the end, if you have any little plans you want to give us that we can kind of keep an eye out for the future, we're willing to listen.
Yeah, no, it sounds good to me.
All right. So, yeah, so starting off, so how about just a little bit of an introductory for the people in the area that may not be too familiar with who you are?
Sure thing. So, my name is Tyler Fields. I've been playing 40K, um, actually playing 40K since 2012. I got into it at a pretty young age, though. I started when I was 12. I got my first collection. Of course, it was Space Marines. So I think it was like a Battle Force of that, and my brother got Eldar, and there's a couple friends of us that got into it, and we never actually learned how to play. We mostly would set it up so it looked cool, and then as soon as it came to actually having to play, we were like, this is too much.
It's just like,
we don't.
oh, at least it looks good, right?
Yeah, we were all eager setting it up, like making like cool looking battlefields, and then we were like, oh, this is awesome. Then when it came to like having to actually play the game out, we were like, no, I can't do
Well,
it.
I mean, especially starting at such a young age, like even myself now, like as long as I've been playing, like there's still times like I read a rule and I'm like I get overwhelmed. So like I was fortunate. Well, I say fortunate enough, but like when I started it, I was old enough that I've already played a bunch of miniature games, this and that. So it was easy for me to get into. But I talk to these people that's been playing since they've been 10, 11, 12, and at that age, it's like I don't want to say it's harder to get into it, but like when you're looking at a game that's so complex, it could be like super overwhelming, especially when your book is like 4 or 5 inches thick of rules, and you're like, where do I start?
Yeah. Oh, it was super overwhelming. So like we kind of I think we dabbled around with it from like ages 12 to 14 and then stopped. And then my brother got pretty into hockey, and like I didn't really have any hobbies, and then I think I was 16 and I was looking to get into something again. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give 40K a shot again. So I got this time I got the Tyranid Battle Force. I'd always been interested in that faction, but uh, I just wasn't sure if I wanted it originally. But so I got a Battle Force and painted it all up, and I just ended up in the end having no one to play with. I had actually a good grasp of the rules at that age,
Hmm.
but I just had no one to play with, and then just kind of it got put to the side sort of thing. Anyway, jump forward to I would have been 22. I just started working at a desk job, and we would do night shifts. So it was pretty laid back gig. Honestly, I was working in a network operations center for a local ISP, and I was so bored on the night shifts, and I think it was like an ad or something, if I recall, but it was something like caught my eye with Dawn of War. I'd always played that game, and it was Dawn of War 2, and then I went on Steam, and sure enough, the entire Dawn of War suite was on there for like $15, and I was like, yes, absolutely.
Yes, the
So
beginning of the end.
yeah, I honestly think I played it for maybe an hour, and then I messaged like all my friends that used to play, and I was like, who wants to do this? Like, who wants to like invest? And then
Nice.
I got us all committed. I think it was like a month later, we all like equally dumped in $500 to start the hobby all together again. And
Okay.
yeah, so it was there's like six of us I think around then. So it was really cool, like group of friends that I grew up with, my brother as well. We all got back into it, and we played for quite a number of years, from 2012 to at least 2016, with at least in our prime, like almost 4 games each a week. Like we were playing quite a bit.
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean that's pre-kids. So 2016,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had my first son, so I kind of dropped off then, just because obviously parenthood's very
Yeah,
busy.
definitely.
Yeah, and then a friend of mine, Gordy LaRuzic, some may know his name, but he didn't stop playing. Like, he kind of went through into eighth edition. That's when I stopped when eighth edition first came out, and he would always try and get me to play. And it wasn't until last June that I was like, all right, like I need to get back into this. My brother-in-law had started asking me about it as well, and he was interested in getting into it. I was like, all right, if you're gonna get into it too, like I'll make the return to it,
Mm.
start playing again. So yeah, and I jumped in just as eighth was going, learned eighth, and then immediately had to learn ninth edition. So that was fun.
It's like so many corresponding rules, and it's just like, and that's the
Oh,
worst, like I said, where it's so fresh in your head, but then now it's like a new edition fresh in your head, and I could just see you, it's like doing like rolls, and it's like, wait, was that last edition or is that new now?
and going from seventh and not playing any of eighth too, like
Mm,
it was such like that was the big jump, like the
yeah.
change between those two. So it was good though that I was getting into it with someone who didn't know anything at all as well. So it was
Mm,
good because we kind of vibed off one another, like
nice.
learning everything. Took our time to learn it. And yeah, so and then battle reports. That's something we started. I think it was 2013 when we began. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was around then, or maybe early 2014. But it was really cool because, like, I mean, well, I guess when you look at it, 2014 was a while ago, but
Yep.
at the time, like it really wasn't that long ago, and really then, like there wasn't a lot of people doing battle reports. Like it was such like now it is like when I came back and started like debating on oh do I return to making battle reports in
Hmm.
June 2021? Crazy, like how much it has evolved. Like it's
Yeah.
insane how much like the live streaming, the equipment, like I was like oh man, like I'm
Oh
so,
no, it's crazy. Like there's so many
yeah.
people, and like we're even like gonna eventually start dabbling into it. But like I find what's hard about now is unless like because you like I said you've had dabbled with it before, so you kind of had your style that you were working with. But for somebody new to come in now and try to give a fresh approach on it, it's very hard without like copying something that's already been done. And you don't want to be that guy being like, oh well, you're just like the other channel, right? You're like, oh no, like, but at the end of the day, it kind of is. But
Oh, exactly, and that's kind of something too that like recently. I'll talk a little bit more about this soon, but trying to find innovative ways to create reports. So the style we did, we were big fans of the recap style, and that's still kind of
Yeah,
what we do.
similar to what
Big,
Scary does.
yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Just because I find it as a parent, like my gaming window has become
Yes, very short.
increasingly smaller. Yeah. So efficiency is the key, and it's like I really do like the longer reports. Personally, my favorite channel is Striking Scorpion 82. I don't know if you guys
Hmm.
watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
watch him on and off.
yeah, I truly feel that he perfectly captures what 40K should be. He's got the competitive side to it, but mixes in like that narrative element into like the competitiveness, but then I just feel like he captures the game at, like
Okay.
at its core. Yeah, and that's kind of what I think I want to strive to be with my channel. Obviously, where I've been playing Tyrants for a long time, I'm starting to attend tournaments a little bit more.
Okay.
I like the competitive edge to it, but there's just something about that little narrative side to 40K that always draws me into it as well.
And speaking with the narrative thing, have you done much of the campaign stuff, like the Crusade stuff? Because that stuff's been really interesting in ninth.
We've been playing a
Yes,
lot of that here in Moncton.
yeah, that's something I haven't started it yet. I actually have plans to. My regular opponent, the Salamanders guy, with COVID going on, he's pretty much been my only opponent for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the first several months when we got back into it. I
That
also
and
lived with him
yourself.
too, so it made it easy. Um, but yeah, I think a campaign is something I actually want to do, and that's one of the things that I'm going to try and do to really change up the style of reports and offer something a bit more interactive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ran a campaign, well, my brother and I, this was before I did battle reports, and I posted it onto the Tyranid Hive, which is a forum dedicated to Tyranids. And it was 2014 when I did this one, but it was cool. Like what I did is we each had 5,000 points, and we could just bring as many units as we wanted with that 5,000 points. But if a unit died, that's it, like kaput, gone.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it was like a very like I mean for the Tyranids I didn't care as much, but like as the campaign went on, like my brother kind of got like would get attached to certain certain guys, right? So like their death and all
Well,
that.
especially like if they do something so good in one game and then the next game they're dead, you're like,
Yeah,
oh, seriously? Like I gave him a name.
Yeah, it
yeah.
was like
Oh,
our
it
buddy Justin's apothecary versus my keepers.
Uh,
yeah, and I love that that side to it. So what like I had this huge like story planned out, and I started if you actually go back on our channel, like I think it's pretty early on, but I made up this like little video showing like the worlds in this campaign. I was actually had like this whole little galaxy planned out with this big campaign to like
okay.
span apart them, and I wanted to do it in videos too, and like to really like capture that side. So the Crusade, I haven't played any yet, but it's on my to-do list. I have a
Right on.
storyline written out to actually follow up from that original one.
Okay,
So it's
nice.
like kind of like it's going to be like its own little universe on the channel.
Yeah, because the
And
big
like
thing I like with the Crusade games is they're a lot faster. Like you can
yeah,
sit down and play a 25, 50 power level game real quick.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah. And like we said with like the characters and stuff, there's just so much more weight to the game too, which I find like
Yeah,
in say in a competitive game, you're playing for the objective. You don't care if unit XYZ dies, right? Whereas like
exactly.
doing this style game, you have that one unit, you're like, do I risk it or you know? So I really like that element to it as well. And I think that's what I want the channel to be too. Like I want it to be well-rounded, fitting to all players too,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
not just the competitive side. So it's and that's been a bit of the struggle as well. Like we're doing the recap still, but trying to find like the style of video that appeals to everyone.
Yeah,
Whereas there's so
exactly.
much, yeah,
Yeah. No, and like I said, that's where we're at now. Like I said, we haven't jumped in yet, but like we're trying to learn from a lot of people, and that's what's great stuff about like having people like yourself on where you've done this already. So like as much as like for us, like we're loving hearing these stories, but it's like we're also picking your brain at the same time, being like, so like what does it take to go into it? Because we've actually had JT and Tack from Play On. And that was the big thing is like for us, like that was a huge learning curve on some stuff that you don't think of until you're talking to somebody that's actually done it. And you're
yeah,
like, huh, now I get what you're talking about. And
yeah. It's one of the big things with it too. I've done some longer videos, like the longer format, and I find sometimes like there's the pressure too, like when you're actually recording, because like every little rule mistake you make too, that's like one thing that
oh, the comment section blows
oh
up and
man,
yeah.
it's just like there's so much going on, and like until you're actually like I used full out like I watched Mini Wargaming quite a bit. They were a big
Mhm.
inspiration when I started. I still really enjoy their content, but they would get called out so hard for every little mistake. Into
Oh
my
yeah.
head, I'm like, oh, you guys are professionals. Like, why aren't you like doing this? But then when you actually start recording, right, it's so much different when you're like holding the camera, you're focusing, like, okay, like, am I getting a good shot? Am I
Hmm.
explaining everything properly? Then all that's running in your head, and then you miss a little tiny rule because there's so much going on top of complex
Exactly.
game.
And again, for somebody that's not into it, that's the mindset. They're like, well, how are they getting
Yeah,
something so simple so wrong? And then, like you said, you get into it because like when we started doing the podcast, I'm like, oh, you know what, a podcast would be fun. Like, how hard is it? You sit down and
Yeah.
you talk. Myself and one of the other co-hosts, Justin, we sat at my desk for 2 hours to
Sharing the
produce
microphone.
5 minutes of content. We're like, how do people do this? I don't get it. I thought it was so easy. It's like I tried talking into a microphone. I'm like, okay, I just sound very weird right now.
yeah,
So it's the same thing with the bat rep. It's like you could be the guy behind the screen watching it, being like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. But until you get actually into the action of doing it, it's like, no, it's a whole different scenario. Because like you said, not only are you trying to remember the rules, you're trying to make sure, like you said, got the camera angle, is the audio right? Am I focused where I'm supposed to? And it is a whole more than just a one trick pony. It's like you're multitasking 4 or 5 things at a time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so easy to make a few mistakes too. That's another advantage to the recap style as well. Not that I'm trying to say I hide mistakes because I try,
You
but
can't
it's
Play
it
like
allows
that.
me to focus more onto the game too as well.
Mhm.
So it's like it's all about finding that balance. And I mean,
Yeah.
and for me, like I do this because I enjoy it. It's not a job for me. I mean,
Mhm.
who knows like how it's going to grow and evolve, right? But for now, it's always been kind of like it's just I like putting content together. I just like creating it.
Mhm.
And if I can give someone else something to watch while they're painting, that's I feel good about that, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
that's
and
kind
that's
of
the joys of YouTube. And like I say, that's kind of what we're doing here is like if people want to listen to us ramble on for an hour about whatever topic, and like you said, while you hobby, and it becomes a whole because as you're painting, as you're assembling, you're learning other people's information or different outlooks on a lot of different things. So it's very rewarding whenever you're doing something, and then even a comment could be like, "Hey, I was hobbying and I really enjoyed what you guys were talking about this faction," and you're like, "Thanks," and it's just it is nice to see.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's it's something I found too with a lot of my viewers. Like it's primarily a Tyranid channel. Like I do the vast majority of the content, and Tyranids is my thing. I mean,
Mhm.
I just painted up 1,500 points of Necrons, and I had like I have a Space Marine or an Ultramarine Force, but it was more just kind of like a for fun thing, just because I wanted to
Mhm.
paint them. But Tyranids are the main thing, and I found that there's kind of there's a growing community coming to the channel like for Tyranid. So it's really cool to see that develop. Like I have so many people that'll like pick my brain, and it's really weird because sometimes like I'm like I'm not like you feel like a guy. I'm just a guy. Like you know what I mean?
It's like
But
they're
it's
talking to
cool.
you. It's
But
like you
you're
probably
probably
know
like
more
one of
about that. Yeah, go
you're
ahead,
probably
Brian.
one of the only guys that actually streams Tyranids too, and that's
Yeah.
where you're finding those guys looking for your tips and
Yeah,
tricks, right?
exactly. Because it's definitely a faction that's not like featured a whole lot when
Mm,
compared to a
not
lot of
at
the other.
all.
Well, like Dan and I, we gravitate towards Scary because he's the Dark Eldar guy. Like
Hmm.
Yeah,
you got your Tyranid following coming to you now, which is pretty cool.
exactly. Yeah, it is really neat to see. And I think one of the hard things too in like running a channel like this too is like a lot of times people will come for advice. You'll say something, but then someone else will be like, "Oh, that's not the meta. That doesn't work." But then like you're like, well, you have no idea who they're playing against. Like, what
Yeah.
are they playing? More of a narrative theme? Are they just learning it? So, and that's another hard thing too. Is like even for creating Tactica videos, like for Tyranids, which they've
Mhm.
actually probably been my most popular piece of content. Which again, it's really cool to see like a lot of people actually getting something out of it. Because like when you get down to it, Tyranids are a hard faction to pick up and
Yeah.
enjoy the game with. Like, because I mean, they're designed to die. Like that's just flat out.
Is
Say it what it
one of
is.
the ultimate horde armies between them and demons and stuff? It's like it's an
Yeah,
army to set down 100, 200 like orcs with boys and stuff like that. It's like I don't want to say it's a huge investment, but yes, it is. But like you said, it's just like you have your Tactica with your videos, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like you pop models on, you run them forward, and yeah.
yeah, and that's like the one thing I really have enjoyed with Ninth is a lot of people have been like Tyranids. I don't know. I don't know what your guys' experience is with it, but like in my many years of like browsing forums, there's so much doom and gloom when it comes to the Tyranid faction.
Yeah,
I don't know what the Dark Elder scene is like with that, but
it was dark
uh,
for a while, and it's
yeah.
gotten
yeah,
dark again. But the new rules are pretty exciting. I'm
yeah,
pretty
that's
interested with the
actually
new
very
book.
cool.
So
Yeah, but what's nice too, it's like, and like you're saying, like Tyranids, and I think the what's I don't want to say bad about it, but it's just because where they didn't have a lot of success at the tail end of eighth and the beginning of ninth. That's why you didn't hear a whole lot of people talking about it. So that's why I love finding people that like when you're a diehard faction player, it's fun to watch these people because like if you're at the lowest of it and if you're still winning, then that's when people's like, oh, well, maybe they're not as bad as I thought. Because didn't Tyranids literally like a couple weeks ago win like a huge GT?
Yeah, yeah. It was I can't remember the name of the event. I think it was John Lennon playing it from
Mm,
Art 4, and yeah, he put together like a really good list. I watched a couple streams that he's had on
mm,
YouTube with it, and yeah, it did really good. That Forge World update was like it was huge when you
yeah,
can see Tyranids, and like it's just it's knowing how to play Ninth. That's the big thing. Like the
exactly.
vast majority of my games, it's win through just like point denial. Like I said,
Mm,
most of my stuff dies in the end. But if you know how to play the army like and build it, and you really have to like, I mean, every army you have to like have a plan when you're building a list. But with
yeah.
Tyranids, every unit like it's cool in a way because Tyranids on a whole, like they're the like there's the hive mind. Each
Hmm.
organism is designed for a specific reason. So like even on the table, I find like that kind of translates well. Like each unit needs to have a very specific role.
Yeah.
The sad part of that though is like outside of that role, they don't usually function too well.
It's like a one trick pony. It's like you did what you did. Now you're dead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I mean, like the Lictor case in point. Like can't remember how long it's been since like there was ever a point to fielding Lictors. Like there was, I think in 7th edition, there was like the whole lictor shame list where you bring like a crazy amount of lictors. They just appear all over the
Hmm.
board. Back when there was no 9-inch zone, and they would just appear, steal
Yeah.
an objective, appear, steal an objective. But they're, to me, like they are one of the biggest auto include units with Tyranids right now, which is cool because that unit has just been literal garbage
Yeah,
for
and that's
so
the
long.
joys of ninth, because like we had an episode that just went up yesterday actually, and it was just the state of ninth edition as it is. And what I'm loving about ninth edition right now is you have these factions that were not doing well before, or like even factions that were doing well, like just factions in general, because every faction will have those models, like you said. It's like, why would I ever use them? They're crap. They don't do anything at all. But ninth edition is giving all these old units that nobody wanted that were sitting on the shelf gathering dust a reason to do stuff, because with the secondaries and with the way ninth is played as a whole, like with the movement phase and everything, like every little bit will score you points. So these models are now, like you said, giving you a reason to feel them because they were doing something now in ninth that wasn't there in eighth, so you weren't using them for that specific reason.
Exactly, yeah. So and it's good because then you can expand in your collection too.
Hmm.
And that was one thing I try and do too. Like a lot of my reports, like I just actually uploaded one today. It was a Necron and
I've seen
Tyranid
that.
game. Yeah, it was actually a really good game. Like it was right down to the wire. My favorite style of game. Like I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, it's good. You want your list to win, but if a game can go down to turn 5 and like it comes down to that point to see who wins, I don't care if I win or lose. Like that to me was time well spent for a game.
Oh, definitely. How many times did we say that yesterday in our episode, Brian? It's like
Yeah.
that's the one thing everybody said is like ninth edition. It's like it's the first edition, like you said, it's down to like 1 or 2 points. Like you're trying to needle as many points. And like you said, you lose, yes, but it's just like, man, that was such a good close game, and it literally could have went any way.
Exactly, and that's the best part about it. Like it was the list I brought too. Like it was not a very optimized list, but I try and bring a lot of variety of units and try new things out. Like I brought old One Eye and 3 Carnifexes against Necrons. So
Nice.
But that's the
it,
fun of it. Like I said,
yeah,
you try these units that you normally like on paper you're like, I wouldn't take it. But until they hit the board and it's just like, oh, so many possibilities I never knew until you actually try them out. So I love when people do that. They bring models that not everybody would say, being like, oh, well, they're crap on paper, so why are you going to take them? But it's like, well, put them on the table, see what they can do, have fun with it.
exactly. There's a one unit in particular. I'm going to do a tactica video on it soon. It's Biovores. To me,
Hmm.
they're a little overcosted. But my goodness, depending on who you're playing against, the move block potential with the spore mines is incredible. So
Hmm.
they're BS4, but if you move them, they have heavy weapons. It becomes 5, and if you miss with them, right, then you get to place a spore mine.
Oh, okay.
So what I've been doing is I actually kind of discovered the tactic by accident. I think it was like back in September. I just put them in a list. It was a behemoth. I think it was no, it was a yeah, it was a behemoth list. I went full melee. I brought them because I was like, you know what, I never brought them in a while, and I had no shooting units, and I was playing against salamanders, and I shot them. I missed all 3 shots. And I was like, this is cool. I completely move blocked his land raider. I think there was like a Terminator unit. Like I literally blocked 1/3 of his army into a corner just by the positioning of the spore mines. And then I
Nice.
realized I was like, I still have the double shoot strat. So then I shot them again. I missed 3 more times. So I literally had 6 spore mines placed just like strung across that he could not pass.
Hmm.
So it was,
Nice.
so it
And
was
like you
like,
said, it was literally a happy mistake, and you
But
would not have
oh,
known. Like on paper, you never would have thought of that.
and that's one of the
exactly.
things we really enjoy with Ninth so far is that you're seeing those units that aren't played a lot come back. Like Dark Eldar, we had the Court of Archon come back. You're seeing more demons now. You're seeing other parts of other armies that were boxed away and never touched. Like I
Yeah.
suspect Hellions are coming back for Dark Eldar. Like
Fingers crossed. So many fingers crossed.
Yeah, like that's
and like
probably my favorite
Tyranids
thing.
won a GT recently too.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we were saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's really nice too because like a lot of people are saying that some of the like the winning list for Tyranids were going to be like I think it was like double hero duel or something like that or like triple Dimicaran. But I mean John still had 2 Dimicarans in it and it did well. But it's cool seeing other units as well like work off of the threat potential of like those larger units.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I'm actually playing in a tournament next. So it's Yeah, next Saturday. No, not this
The
Saturday.
one on
Coming
the 27th in Halifax,
27th.
HFX.
Yeah. So I'm
Nice.
heading down to that. I have a Barb Hero Duel coming. It didn't arrive yet, and like it's gonna be a lot of work to paint it up if it arrives midweek next week. And plus, my list has to be submitted by Wednesday.
Oh shit.
Um,
Yeah,
but I do have a Dimmick Karen.
we have the tournament coming up here on the 27th down in St. John, New Brunswick. So I'm
Okay.
heading down there with the demons, and I still got to paint my epitome and build a keeper. Like,
Talking about painting incentive though, it's the best. At
Yeah.
the same time, it's such
my
a
Dark Eldar, I painted 2,000 points pretty much for a tournament that got canceled. So
there you go. They did it for you. They knew.
it gave me the motivation.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting because like where I don't have some of those key units, like I don't have a double Dimmicaran for Tyranids or even the Hero Duel yet. So I have to try and get creative with what I'm going to do. Like I'm obviously going to bring my Dimmicaran. It's such a good unit, but then it's like how do I fulfill that role with what I got? And it's hard too because like where ninth is so it's still new, I would say, and this is like I think the second tournament held in Halifax, right? So like even like coming back, I don't know what to expect. And from what I know, there's not a lot of Tyranid players to begin with. I think there's really only one or two other guys that play consistently that attend tournaments, to my knowledge. So
Okay.
it's like, can I use that to my advantage? Like, like if people aren't geared towards that, like
Yeah.
They don't know
potential.
what
So
to expect.
exactly. So, and that's one of my favorite things about being a Tyranid player too, is like nobody ever knows what anything is. Like I almost find it funny. Like there's a Games Workshop store in Halifax, and when I first started playing games outside of my gaming circle, like how I would head there after work some days when I worked down there, and I would play. And I don't know if there wasn't a lot of Tyranid players there or what, but I'd always like set stuff down, and people just had have no clue what it was ever. Like I could have made up
But
whatever I wanted, and
they
I
look really
guarantee.
cool.
Yeah, like I could have said whatever, and people are like, oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. Can I see the rule? No, I'd rather not. But no, and like I said, it's great to see because like even in our area right now, one of our other co-hosts, Justin, he's actually getting into Tyranids himself because he plays Iron Warriors. He's had a Tau
He
Force
doesn't
for
play
many
Iron Warriors.
years.
He's going to crucify you for that.
But
He's Space Marines, Iron Hands.
but yeah, so like he's starting Tyranids. So like I said, it's fun to start seeing these old armies that never seen play in the last couple of years coming around. And like you said, it's like where you don't play them for so long, you show up to a tournament. Yeah, like I wouldn't have a clue how Tyranids play because I probably played against them twice, once in seventh, one in eighth, and that was it. Just because that's how many Tyranid players we have here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely one of those factions that I think is going to come back. I hope.
Well, especially with the new codex, just like Necrons, how they came back. Like I've never played Necrons before until ninth. Like I started early eighth and never seen them at all until ninth, and then ninth happened and they're good.
Yeah, I played them in I think 6 editions. The last I played, one of the original guys that started 40K up with us. He moved away, but I think he was there for the duration of 6 editions. So I played them back then, and they're okay, not the best. But then like I just painted up 2. What do I have? I have 2 Indominus sets, and I converted the reanimators into spiders, and I got a third one. So like it's like an okay-ish 1,500 points, I think. Like I have no idea. Like I played one game with them, did a battle report on it, and it was just 1,000-point game against Salamander. So I consider pretty solid army, even like bringing just an average list or whatever.
Yeah.
And someone was just like, "Wow, what an unfair game," and I have no idea. Like,
well, it's like right now, like anybody you talk Necrons is the Necron Warrior bombs, and I think that's what so many people get pissed about is like the whole reanimation. It's like if you can't commit enough and wipe out the whole unit, and you leave that one alive, 4 out of 5 chances, like 10 of them are coming back.
Yeah. Oh,
and
man.
then now you got to do it all over again. And like some of these guys are
then
running
he's going
like
to crush
4.
that orb and come back full. Like,
yeah. So that's the big thing with Necrons right now. But like I said, like besides that, like but they do have a lot of new units that are really cool to see and really fun to play. And that's what I like about right now. So we're like 9th edition, yeah, it's pushing close to a year coming up. But and I hate using the word, and we always talk about it, but like meta. It's like everybody's perception of meta is always going to be different. But right now with 9th is it's hard to say what the meta is because yes, it's been over for a while, but like you had mentioned earlier, it's not everybody has that many games. There's not like 200 GTs already been played, this and that. So like every area is something different, and I love it. I love for the fact that you can go to a tournament and you're not going to see, and I'm throwing this in Justin's
Dreadnoughts.
face, is like 5 Iron Hand players or 5 this players. And so it's nice to
Yeah.
see like our last tournament, we had one in October before everything kind of went downhill. I was TOing that one, and I don't think there was a single person playing the same faction.
Really?
Everybody actually played something different. From we had salamanders and we had iron hands, so like there was 2 space marine players, but then we had death guard, we had admech, we had knights, we had gray knights. Like it was nice to
Custos.
yeah, so like nobody was playing the same thing, and I hope to see this going forward, because it's great. It's great not having to go to a 3-round tournament and have to play 3 of the same factions in a row.
Oh, exactly. And yeah, it was. That's my favorite thing about attending a tournament is the chance to play new armies.
Mhm.
It was funny though, because the last one I went to, the first game I played against was Thousand Suns, and I haven't really watched much about them, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I'd never played against. Chaos is actually the least played army I've like out of all the factions I've ever played against collectively.
Oh, come
Actually,
to
that's not
Moncton.
true.
Everybody has a
We
chaos
got
army.
No,
Kier's
actually,
got
that's not true.
corn. Dan's
Orcs.
got corn. I got Slanesh. Let's go.
I'll have to do that for sure. But orcs, I've never played against orcs ever.
Kier's got that too. So
Yep, we have that covered too.
That's the only army I have not played against. But yeah, I went to the last one I went to. Like I said, like I exclusively played against salamanders for such a long time, just because like with COVID and
Mhm.
my brother-in-law living with me, or
Mhm.
I was living with him at the time, and yeah, it was quite experienced to get them. So I got there, I played Thousand something, and there was one salamanders guy, and I was like, not that I didn't want to play him, I was like, I just want to play new stuff, and sure enough, I have to play in the next game. I was pretty prepared personally, but all the other factions, no, they I had no
Yeah.
idea what to expect.
But that's how I found my love for Dark Eldar too. I went to that Morks tournament GT that was here in Moncton, and I was playing Death Guard at the time, and I seen the speed and what Dark Eldar could actually do, and I was like, I like that army.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying it.
That's awesome.
Mm.
That's kind of like how I pursued Necrons a bit more. Like I had the Indominus set, like
It was
obviously I
such a
was gonna
good
keep
deal
it.
for that box too. Like,
Oh,
Oh
hands
man,
down.
and buying it used, holy smokes! Like now is the time to start a Necrons army, like for
Mm.
cheap.
yeah, you're
Big
gonna
time.
find those better than the Marine half. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, like it's crazy, and it was I can't remember if it was a I think it might have been a video of Striking Squad. I watched a battle report with them, and they just looked so cool, and it was so different to anything I played. And I was like, I gotta start a little force
Mhm.
off that. Like I gotta invest onto this Indominus set. Well, it's cheap. That was
Yeah. Or while you can actually get it, first of all.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So they've been pretty fun playing them. It's been a good shakeup from Tyranids for sure.
Mm. No, and like I say, it's always fun to dabble with something new, because, like you said, like you've been playing Tyranids year on end, and that's your go-to army. But like you say, it's always fun, especially like right now with COVID going on. Like obviously, you can't have all these different people playing all these different armies. So at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to you almost having to learn a new army, which at the end of the day is not bad. It's always fun to have that palate cleanse army where it's like you play something
Yeah.
for so long. Like for myself, my main army has, funny enough, has always been chaos. When I started, it was Black Legion, hands down. And on my painting desk, 12 years later, what am I painting? I'm redoing up all my Black Legion. So it's one of those things I've always had, I've always played. But like Brian, it's like one day I seen Dark Elder, I got into Dark Elder, and I never let go. And I also play Corn on top of that. So it's like I got super speedy, shooty army, super close combat, no shooting in your face army. And it's just one of those things. Like if I play something for so long, it just, for me personally, it gets too repetitive, and I just need to put it on the side, try something new, and then at the same time, you're kind of learning new aspects of the game too.
Exactly. Yeah. I even by just playing other factions too, it gives you insights to like how to counter stuff too. Like once you're actually like in command of a different faction, like I find it you kind of understand the thought process behind
Mhm.
certain moves too, which I think is really important. Definitely. Yeah, like I almost say like if someone's to be competitive, like I almost think it's key to play like at least a few factions just to kind of like get a better understanding for the game too. At least that's my perception thus
well,
far.
it's like some factions they have some stuff like others don't. Like Tau, you really don't have melee or
Oh,
psychic phase.
poor
Like
Tao.
But
There's a guy.
even for Kari, we don't have that psychic phase, but it's
Yeah.
nice playing all the phases, and then you get an army that's really good in them phases that you're not used to, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. Tower just there's a guy locally. He messaged me for the COVID restrictions on. He actually found me through the battle reports and just posting on
Nice.
some of the groups. And he actually lived in Truro too. So we met up for a few games. And I actually think I'm going to play with him tomorrow night. But he
Nice.
plays Tau, and they are. The last time I played Tau was like triple
Riptides.
Yeah.
nightmare time for Tyranids. Like some of the best games I ever had was with my friend Gordy. He plays Tau, and he played them competitively. So like it was like if we wanted to even just have a close game, like I had to bring my A game. So like I had this high expectation, like oh my gosh, Tower a nightmare. But now in ninth, like they're it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt that faction. Like they definitely struggle really hard, like when it comes to
yeah.
objectives.
I think the reason that they're struggling so much is where Tao's big advantage was the bigger boards. You hold them back and you shoot for 2 to 3 turns before you even get to you.
In the
Smaller
castling,
boards now, it's I can get to you in turn 1, and if I get to you in turn 1 and tag you,
See ya.
exactly. So I think Tau is still very viable. Yes, like they have the strategies. It's just you can't base it off of old lists and old strategies because ninth is a whole new experience.
And that would have really hit back when you were learning ninth after playing one game of 8. Like instead of playing that get center board, hold center board, and do everything that way, ninth makes you branch out and play the board. Like you have to play all your objectives and stuff now. And that's something Tau struggle with unless you bring Crute.
Full on Crute army. I've been bugging Justin to do it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
get
want
back
to see
into
it.
it,
Bring
Justin.
on full Crute.
I just wanted to see that visually.
That or
The
bring back
Crutes.
all the shield drones or the battle
Oh,
drones.
God. Nah, too many. And that's the thing. Like at the end of it, like with eighth and that, like that's what it was. To play Tau, you needed 57 shield drones and this and that. It's like, don't get me wrong. Like it's gonna win you games, but is it really fun? Like I want I want to be competitive, yes, but I still want to have fun with my list.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's I haven't committed to the full gaunt carpet yet because it looks so tedious.
Oh.
Let alone painting it, but then trying to like string all them out, it's a nightmare.
Oh, exactly. But no, at the end of the day, like with ninth edition, like that's the best thing is once all this COVID stuff comes to an end and you can start playing more games with different people and learning it. Because like I said, that's where you learn the most is by playing against these armies you've never seen before. Get your ass completely handed to you because then this way you're learning what they can do. So next time around you actually play them, it's like, okay, I remember what you can do now, and like you can make like a game plan.
You can do that now? What?
I've been doing that since day one. But no, but that's what I mean. Like that's at the end of the day, people are just like, well, how come my list doesn't work? It's like, have you played more than one game with it? Because like when I first got into it, like if like a unit wouldn't perform, I get a little discouraged and I trade it up. And that's what I was very bad for was I would never play the same list twice. Something would always change, something would always be different. But now it's like I stick to a list and like you need to learn it. You need to know how to properly utilize the units. And if one game they screw up because they didn't do something properly, maybe you were using them for the wrong purpose. Try something else with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just stratagems now too. I find that's such a like not playing eighth at all. Stratagems were a big thing for me, going from like a seventh edition guy to ninth without having any experience with eighth. So
I suppose because stratagems literally just got introduced with eighth, because seventh, there was none of that.
Exactly. So getting used to that was it wasn't bad. I think I'm very happy I didn't have to deal with eighth, like the whole what was it, the detachment spamming for command points, or what was it?
See, eight was just a giant ass beta for nine. That's what people call it. That's what I'm gonna call it, and that's all it was.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But no, it's true, and that's exactly what it is. Like, how many detachments can I fill to get as many CP as possible? But that's why I'm kind of happy with how they did ninth. Is essentially here's your base CP. Now it's going to cost you to spam it like you did before.
And like that really hurt our guard players and our Gene Stealer cult players because they're used to starting with 30 some CP and now they start with like 12.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm demon, so I start with 4 and I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like learning how to spend those too is it's such a key part of the game now too, and it's very cool because like almost building the list, like you said, like you have to keep that same list because maybe
Mhm.
it wasn't even that the unit performed wrong. Maybe you spent a CP too early or
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
wait a turn. Like with
You roll a
Tyranids,
1 on your vect.
yeah, um, I think like the most valuable stratagem for Tyranids is the metabolic overdrive. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Not
It's
too
one
familiar
CP.
now.
It's one CP and it lets you move and advance a unit again. So
Okay.
with the faster unit, but then you roll a dice for each unit or each model in the unit, and then on a 1 you take a mortal wound.
Oh shit.
But the
Okay.
idea is with gaunts, right? Like especially Hormagaunts, where they have
Mm.
8-inch move, right, plus advance. So it's like on average, that's 24-inch movement with that stratagem. Being a troop, also like OBSEC, and when they're
Yeah.
large units. So it's like that was a stratagem I definitely didn't utilize early into playing ninth edition. But like, there's so many times where you can just deny points, be like, all right, overdrive, and you just lost all these objectives.
Yeah.
So yeah, like things like that. It's just like, and I always hated using Hormagaunts because I'm like, I felt like they did nothing. Or I would use that stratagem like early on in the game, like position early, and then due to like having to shoot twice with Hive Guard, using other things, like all my CP would be gone like later
Yeah.
into the game. But then it's like, all right, it's turn 4. I need to zip a unit across the table. How can I even do that? But had I have just
Exactly.
waited, right, I could have. You know what I mean? Like it's knowing
Exactly.
when to do it and why.
And exactly, it kind of reminds me with Dark Elder, Fire and Fade. It's like a lot of times, like obviously, what it's meant for is you make your way up the board, you shoot, you go hide. But what I started using it for is you zip them up, you shoot, get closer to that objective marker. You just gained an extra 6 to 8 inches. I can't remember exactly. I think it gives you
Yeah.
an 8 inch move. And in one
So
turn, like I said, I just
7
tagged
inch.
that back corner.
Yeah,
Where before I'd be like, well, no, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to hide. Which don't get me wrong, it's still a very viable way to use it because like especially like you got like a Ravager. You want to keep that as live as long as possible, so you want to get in somebody's face, shoot as much as you can, and hide it. But if you have like say a Reaver Jet Bike unit, you zip them up, you shoot, and now you're at the back corner because you got Fire and Fade. So it's knowing when to use that one stratagem the right way at the right time because it can be used multiple ways.
exactly. Yeah, and that's it too. Like I mean, like positioning units as well. Like you almost want to like you said there, the perfect example, the jetpacks. You go to the corner, so it's like if someone wants to get to you, they have to walk away from the objective, plus
Hmm.
farther away from the center of the table, even, right? So it's
Exactly.
yeah, I think it's Art of War. What they always say is the game is won in the movement phase. I'm pretty sure it's
Hmm.
like Nick
Movement's
always says that.
100% most important phase.
Oh no,
Yeah,
definitely. Like eighth, it was very starting to show with that, but ninth is the definition of it. Is if you can master the movement phase,
yeah,
you are going to
Not
have
just
a
the
hand up.
movement phase. It'd be like the charge phase, the combat phase, like your
Yeah.
pylons consolidates all your movement. That's what
yeah.
really adds up.
Oh, it really does. Like even heroic interventions. That's for me personally. That's probably my weakest point. With
Yeah.
Tyranids, I don't really have a lot of times like that comes into play. But
Yeah,
there's so
I
many
never think of
times
it
I've got
myself.
caught by it. My buddy Gordy, he plays Space Wolves, and yeah, I'm not
Mhm.
looking. I think we're gonna do a practice game for the tournament next Saturday. He's attending it with me as well, and I think he's playing Space Wolves. And so I mentioned earlier that Biovore tactic, right? About launching
Yeah.
the Biovores over. And this is the reason why for the tournament, I'm like, is it gonna work? Because like if it goes off and someone's not expecting it, oh my gosh, like it just ruins your day.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking about it positioning wise, right? If someone's smart and they have heroically the ability to heroically intervene, right? That's
Hmm.
free movement for a mortal wound. Which I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
when you have a unit of what, I don't know, 10 assault intercessors for Space Wolves, they'll gladly take a mortal wound,
Exactly. Yeah.
gain about like 6 inches of movement. So
And again,
Yeah.
that's
that's where having games under your belt comes in handy because, like I said, like for me playing against you, where I've never seen that before. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm gonna panic a little bit because I'm like, oh crap, so that screws up my plan. How am I going to get
Or
around
fly
that?
away.
oh
Well,
man, I
yeah,
wish
like
you saw
obviously
my
there's
opponent's
fly and all
face.
that, but no,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's true. So it's yeah, like I
yeah,
said, to an experienced player, you do, and you'd be like, okay, well, I can just reroute over here, and you're like, crap.
yeah. That's just it, right? Like, so it's gonna be interesting. Right now, I think the Biowars are in the list. It's going to be curious. I mean, I don't know if Space Wolves will be the best test because, like I said, with that heroic intervene, it's going to be
Yeah.
a bit of a pain. But potentially positioning wise, like I can pull them away. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
definitely have to experiment with them. Thinking heroic intervene on them. I've just been dreading that. If I'm being honest.
It's just playing it over in your head. It comes
I'm
time
so
to play, and then
proud.
you'll forget it, and then
Yeah, I've been bragging that tactic up to him, like with his other army, saying like, "Oh, I can block movement," but I know he's just waiting for those space walls to go.
he's just like, just do it, try it. I'm ready.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's gonna be a good time for sure.
yeah. But no, kind of like jumping on to back to like the YouTube channel and stuff like that. So like we were talking a bit about in-house stuff like you wanted to do like with the narrative and stuff like that. But besides the narrative, is there anything else that you've been kind of not even into motion, but just something that you would like to accomplish down the road with it? Like say given more time, because like you said, being a dad is definitely hard kind
Yeah.
time wise. But if given like the proper amount of time, what is something that you would like to try out with the channel?
Um, I I definitely want to do. I do want to do a live stream. My goal. I don't have a rough date for it, but I would like to hit the point where at least once a month I can do a live stream match. Kind of get
Okay.
everyone watching too, because the one thing I find with our reports, like I personally I like the concise reports where it's faster. It gives people an alternative to like
Yeah.
longer reports. You can sit
Hmm.
down, grab a full match, and I have received positive feedback on how it's presented. So it is effective. Like we're effectively getting the points across. We cover the list very well, but it's missing that
The
uh,
action.
the action and almost like getting to know us a little bit more as
Hmm.
well. So it's missing that personality a little bit to the channel
Okay.
too, which is something I think with the live streams I'd really like to add that in as well. A little bit more interaction. People kind of get to know myself, some of the regular opponents on the channel too,
Hmm.
and yeah, and just kind of give an opportunity to interact a little bit more. There's actually a friend of mine actually suggested. I don't know how this would work, and I don't have any set ideas, but I'd really like to do a battle report. Like, I want to come up with a new way to do a battle report that's exciting and a little bit different. Because, like you said,
Yeah.
there's so many channels doing the same thing. Great content, but it's nothing like
It's nothing new. It's like you can get the same thing
exactly,
through three other people type thing.
exactly. So he suggested this. I think it would be interesting to try out. Is actually film a game, potentially with the overhead view, watching the match, and uh, then to like film the whole thing, but then when editing it, actually have like two commentators like talking the match through. I don't
Yeah.
know how that would work.
That's
It's something
something
that he mentioned.
Justin's
I
thought
thought that would
about
be
too.
yeah. I thought it'd be really cool because then you're gonna get like people actually like that don't know the outcome of the game too, and
Hmm.
can talk about like tactics behind it, kind of give a play-by-play of what's going on, and then potentially even
Hmm.
talk about okay, we're going into turn two. He's got this alive. He's got this alive. My thought is he's going to make a play over here. Like you know what I mean? It kind of sets up a little bit of excitement too and an
Yeah.
anticipation. Like, are they going to make that move? And suddenly they move do something else, and it's like, oh, I wonder why. And then
No,
I don't
that
know.
actually is kind of a cool idea. Like I said, it is different. And
Yeah,
like I said, it almost kind of coincides with like say somebody is live streaming, you got your two commentators. But like you said, the game's already happened. You already know the outcome. And
yeah,
like you said, you're giving your thought being like, well, my thought process behind this move was I was hoping he would do this. And then he can kind of come back being like, I would not have expected that. So that's why I did this. So yeah, no, that actually is
exactly.
kind of a like a cool idea because it is different. And like it gets, like I said, the viewer kind of being like, okay, so what did he ended up doing? And yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Exactly, because like during the battle report too, like there's like I mean Art of War, I'd say they're the top I mean they're obviously professional
Yeah.
war gamers, but even with their stream, like they're doing it professionally.
Hmm.
They do a very good job of explaining themselves and why they're doing stuff during the game. But like the mass majority, like they'll do things, but there's so many times I'll film a battle report. Later on, I'll think to myself, oh, I should have mentioned that one little part because it
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
given the viewer so much more. Or it's like, or I'll have done something and like it'll look like a huge mistake, but then like there's a reason I did it. And
yeah. Like they
well,
don't know
I
what
did
your
make a
final
mistake.
outcome was. Yeah. It's like, no, I really screwed up. I mismentioned.
Yeah,
But I do get what you mean. It's like whenever like somebody's watching, especially when they're really wanting to learn the competitive nature, when they really want to see what that unit's doing. So when you do an actual movement, and like you said, like in their head it was like, well, why did he move there? I would have swang him to the left instead of the right. But then, like you were saying, you give your response being like, I went to the left for this reason to set up for the next turn. Because like not that person might have not been thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So that is a format I'd like to experiment with. It's definitely going to be way more time consuming.
Definitely.
One advantage I see to it, like post production, is going to be a lot more work. But during the game, you're not worrying about recording. You're playing a game of 40K.
Exactly.
And even though I do the recap bat reps, where I mean it's definitely way less work than some of the other ones. Let me
Hmm.
tell you, anytime I play a game where I don't have to record, it feels so easy.
Just like just you just play
Yeah,
casual. And but no, I definitely get you. And like I said, that's kind of like where we're at right now. Like we've been brainstorming for a little bit. We have a
Yeah,
couple of options that we want to work with, but again, at the end of the day, it's like, do we want to be a bat rep that does top view? Do we want to do, say, like mini wargaming where it's just a constant moving camera? Do we want it like a tabletop titans where it's like a front view, both people there playing, and then you got the dice tray? So like there's so many different formats and so many different many views that catches the eye. And like I said, it's just something to be different, but still keep people entertained and wanting to come back to your channel specifically for that one thing. And like you mentioned, like personality. I think honestly, personality is a huge thing because it's like I watch mini wargaming because I want to see Dave scream at somebody. I want to see him get so overexcited rolling dice, and that's the stuff that keeps you coming
it's the
back.
same thing with play on. You got that Nick guy that plays the Tau and stuff. He's just got that energy that kind of matched Dave.
Exactly.
yeah. Well, and that's just it. Like then even striking Scorpion, where he doesn't have that like high energy, but the whole thing with him is he's capturing like the moment. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's like it's adding that little extra to your channel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think what we may end up doing is offering like I think I've always wanted to do like multiple types of formats. So it's like because right now we have like our recap bat reps, and originally we would actually do a mix of them. Like I think we only
Okay.
did a couple, but that way you can kind of people who enjoy that particular one can go and watch that one, and then there's like the
Yeah.
consistent recap ones.
You're bringing a wider audience. Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
something we've brought up too before. Maybe we can do the recap, but we could also stream a full one, and then
E-
people who want to watch that long one can watch that long one, and the people that don't have time, they can watch the recap.
Hmm.
Exactly. And that's what I found. Like obviously not being a paid professional making battle
Yeah.
reports, but
And that's the
it's
thing.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
We
and
do this for
it's your
love.
time. Exactly. You don't want to get burnt out because there was a
Exactly.
point not recently, but when I we used to do reports, it was a little bit the campaign. I was trying to do too much for the time available ahead and making it, and I kind of got burnt out a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it just for a hobby that's supposed to be like fun, and like I mean, you invest so much time painting, and it takes so long to play it too. Like it really sucks like having that one little thing kind of kill all of that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and then after a while, you're like, well, I just don't want to play today. And then
Yeah,
that can carry over because, like, I'll be honest, like, over the many years I've been playing, yeah, I've had times like that where it's like I said, you try to invest so much time into it, you're almost starting to make yourself not like it because you're almost forcing yourself to do it. And like you said, it's a
yeah,
hobby that you're supposed to love and enjoy doing.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So for you guys, question for you guys: do you have a favorite style report? Like, is it
Nope.
if
I like shorter reports. I don't. I
I
have
like
the
them.
hard
I like
time
them all.
watching the 3 hour report. For me, if I'm
yeah,
going to watch the 3 hour report, I'd rather play. So I kind of like the recap and
Yeah.
or the really condensed ones. Like
yeah,
I can sit down an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and watch one, but 3 hours is a bit pushing it.
See, I guess it's my mood. Like sometimes, like
Yeah.
I want to get to the nitty gritty. I want to see what happens. So, like you said, the recaps are great. So, like I said, like I watch yours, I watch Scary's and this and that, and like it's nice, it's quick, it's fun. But
Yeah.
then I like watching those longer ones because I want to see the tactics. I want to see each
Yeah. Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
I want to know why these guys move. So, like if
I
I'm
won't
sitting down,
lie.
I'm
I
painting.
watched a 4.5 hour stream on Slanesh Demons on Tabletop Titans because I wanted to learn how to play them.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's just like I'm the type of person, like I'm a horrible person to ask what my favorite type is because I don't have one. And I think that's what's making it hard about us deciding on how to do it ourselves is we
yeah,
all have different opinions on how we want to do it. So and like you were saying, like we might even be one of those channels too that just kind of dabbles into a bunch of different ones and
Yeah.
yeah,
in hopes of bringing a wider audience that if you don't like our shorter ones, well, here's hoping you'll like the longer ones or
Exactly. Now, the one thing I do want to mention too that's kind of held me back from doing like the longer form like mini wargaming. I don't know if you guys have experienced this too, but there's it hits a point where you say it's a 2,000 point game.
Hmm.
On average, the video length is 2 hours, right? So every
Yeah.
time you see that, like, oh, 2 hour game, but then you're going to get those games where it's a 2,000 point game. It's an hour long. You start watching it, turn one, you see like one
Yeah.
army kind of taking, and it's an hour long. You're just like, all right, I'm not wasting the rest of my time.
Yeah,
You know what I
you
mean?
know how this is gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's kind of held me back a little bit from those because, like,
Well,
generally speaking, our games are pretty close, but there
Mhm.
is the odd steamroll, and
Yeah.
with the recap, you can kind of conceal it a bit because it's great when you get to see that comeback, and it,
Hmm.
it is annoying as a viewer. Like, I definitely there's a while for mini wargaming. I can't remember. I think it was a few years ago, but it was that sort of thing. Like the reports, it was just like I could literally look at the list and be like, that's a bad report, that's a bad report, that's a
Yeah.
bad report. Oh, this one's actually like a good game worth watching.
Mm.
So that's something I had to really think about too.
now one
Like,
thing I know Tabletop Titans and them do is they set up the terrain in a way that try and prevent that turn one steamroll.
yeah,
They try and conceal your army 80% for that turn one, so that whether
Yeah.
you got to make a move on turn two, and you don't necessarily get steamrolled because you're pretty much protected from everything you have on the table.
Yeah. But at the
exactly.
end of the day, like you have one turn of bad dice rolls, you try to
Yeah,
overcommit, and then it
but
just
that's
blows
part
up
of
in your
40K.
face, and then yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, like you said, because I put up one report. It was a steamroll, and someone was like, "Why'd you post this?" I'm like, "Well, it's a game. Like, I can't." Like,
Yeah.
that's just it's part of the game, and like I think it's capturing that realism. But then, like,
Mhm.
as the content creator, you're always like, "All right, like, are people going to watch this?" You know what I mean? So it's
And
like it's
that's the
finding that
thing too.
balance,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's with the longer reports, something I personally definitely struggle with.
Yeah.
Which I think the recap and then the live has that advantage of like there's no way to tell
Hmm.
obviously what it's going to be like. So
Exactly. But no, one thing that I definitely would like to put out there, especially once we can get our feet wet and then finally get our chance to start doing some battle reports, I would definitely love to have like yourself down here, or we can actually make our way up your way once all this
Yeah,
COVID stuff
Troro's
comes
not that
down.
far
yeah.
away,
And
so
I would love to just like collab with you. Like, hey, let's
Oh
do
yeah,
like a night
absolutely.
live stream where it's like Boulders and Heretics takes on Basement Wargaming. And then, like I
Yeah,
said, it'd just be fun to like collab with more people and just to kind of, and I keep saying this in every single episode, but like Boulders and Heretics is we're trying to bring the community together. And that's why like as soon as I seen your stuff, I knew we had to have you on. Just
yeah,
because like I said, it's like you have kind of like that same mindset that we have. Is just like you want to play the game, you want to have fun with it. So hey, down the road if we can jump on and then you can jump on with us and we can just like I said, have those
absolutely.
videos. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, 100%. I'm all for that. Tyler Hill with Rats Reach, he invited me onto his live stream. I'm hoping, obviously not next week with the tournament prep and
mhm,
everything, but the following week, I think I'm going to try and make it down for that. So, like you said, it's really cool seeing like all these content creators coming
yeah,
together.
it is.
That's
mhm,
It
probably
really
my
is.
favorite thing with the wargaming community on a whole. Like I've honestly, I've never, I mean, I haven't played a ton outside of my local community, just being that when we used to play, like there wasn't as much going on. It's
yeah,
more time to travel back then. But it's just I've never encountered like someone that I wouldn't play again.
mhm,
Best
Yeah.
way to put it. So the vast majority of people are very like-minded, and I mean I hope that's what it is. I hope I just haven't been very fortunate, but yeah, it's really
No,
good, and
it's
especially with the content creation, everyone seems to be very supportive of one another. There's no competition. It's not
yeah.
like I'm not trying to be better
it's
than
all
a
for
different
fun.
channel.
You just want to
It's
Exactly.
meet new
like
people. You want to try playing new armies. And like I said, I can get steamrolled. I'm gonna have a good laugh because I know at the end of the day we're gonna have a good story about the game. And as long as people enjoyed watching it, that's what's important. Like
Exactly.
was it Pete that said it doesn't matter who you are, everyone just loves to talk 40K, so don't be shy to reach out.
exactly, because like I said, we've been
Like,
fortunate enough. We've had guests like Scary on, and like Pete the Falcon himself came on for an episode. We had like JT and Tack, and it's like when we first started this, like it's like, do we bug them? Do we ask? And then it's like, will we get them on? And like I said, it's 2 hours later, and we're still talking Warhammer. Warhammer
Yeah.
is it's like that one thing that when you sit down and you talk, it doesn't matter how well known you are, how little you are. It's a common interest, and you're going to talk about it and love it. And I
yeah.
just I love the game for it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's really cool, like you said, with these like big names out there being so approachable. Like I actually
Well,
contacted Scary for some advice, And
Nice.
he replied to me, and it was like gave very detailed responses and gave me some good
Mm-hmm.
suggestions on like how to just grow the channel. And I was like, wow, like, and it was just like literally like later that night. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is cool. Like
Yeah,
this.
he's a very good guy to talk to. Like I reach out to him all the time. But the
Yeah,
one that really surprised me was that we're probably gonna we're scheduling with Mini Wargaming Dave to be on here
that's
next, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
that's
excited.
incredible.
Dan's hero. So
Hey, it's like
Oh,
as soon as I started Warhammer and the second I seen him play Corn, I never looked back.
like
oh,
to have
I've been
someone
so
that
close
caliber.
traveling up there so many times. Like
Mm,
we like oh, I'm so close a few times to like pulling the trigger and like doing just a big trip to go up. Like
yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
love to meet Matt and Dave. Like it's just crazy. Like I'm definitely I can't wait to listen to the conversation you guys
Yeah.
have with him. Like it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, pretty much we're coming close to the 1 hour mark. And like I mentioned to you earlier, Tyler, it's like once you start talking Warhammer, like
I
it
know
time
it's
flies.
it
But
does.
no, like I said, I'll give you a sec. Besides the YouTube, is there anything else that you would like to shout out? Like as far as like, do you have Instagram, anything at all as far as your content goes on to?
Right now it's just YouTube. Like
Okay.
it's I rebranded everything, so like we kind of have a air quotes logo now. So I am going to be starting an Instagram page
Okay.
for that as well, an actual Facebook page as well, just so it like again like even just like when you guys reached out to me, that was a big thing that really sparked me to get these pages up to. Is just the community, right? To see like
Hmm.
the interaction between our pages, right? And that's just another way
Exactly.
to grow the scene locally, and that's a big thing as well. Locally, I mean, we're the Maritimes, like it's all our provinces combined are equal to one other province
One
for the
Exactly.
rest of
city in
Canada.
another
So,
province. But
but no, yeah, I just on the YouTube for now. You can find me just by looking up Basement Wargaming or Basement Bat Reps. Either or will bring you to the channel.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it right now. I've been pretty low key with stuff, but like I said, like I really want to start pushing it more, and I'm all about the community. Like I want to play with more people. I want
Yeah.
to yeah, just kind of grow from there, right? Like it's
Exactly. But no,
yeah,
essentially, like I said, I'll put a link to your channel in our description below. And whenever the time comes and you pull the trigger and you do get your Instagram, Facebook, relay it to me. We'll be more than happy to throw it on our Facebook page and get people going around. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's a community. We want to grow it together and throw as many people every way possible just to get people knowing other people.
yep.
exactly. Yep, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So, yeah, so we'll wrap this up. So, I just want to say thank you very much, Tyler, for taking the time, jumping on an episode, and just chatting with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'll definitely have to be back again. It's been
Oh
great.
no, definitely. And like I
Definitely.
said, hopefully in the near future, once Papa Nurgle's embrace, buggers off a little bit, we'll hopefully see a little collaboration and we'll get some good old bat reps in.
Even have you down for some tournaments and stuff like that.
Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely, definitely.
All
Play
right,
some
well,
Tyranids.
exactly. Show us all the little trickery that you can do. Maybe teach Justin a thing or two while you're
Yeah.
at it. But no, again, so like again, thank you guys for joining me on this episode and for everybody listening. Hopefully you enjoyed and have a good night.